Hey, hi Ramesh, how are you doing today?
Hey, hi. I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm also good. Thank you so much, Ramesh. So, Ramesh, I guess we are good to start now.
Yes, we are good to start.
That is okay, cool. So, Ramesh, before we go, can I know a little bit about yourself so that I can know better and then see your experience, please?
Yeah, sure. So I have overall 5 years of experience, and the relevant experience in OIC is 4.5 years of experience, and in VBCS I have worked on enhancement and support. I'm still deeping dive into the VBCS part, so I'm still learning the VBCS part. And I have worked on a few VBCS applications where I have supported and done the enhancement part in the VBCS application, where we have to convert the chart of account values, global chart of account values to the standard chart of account values
Mhm.
through the VBCS application using the standard Excel utility as and the combo box utility.
Okay.
So there are two application. One was utilizing the Excel utility, and other one was the combo box, where on the screen itself we were showing the six chart of account values to 10 chart of account values.
Okay. Okay. May I know a little more about this application that you have developed on the chart of account?
So basically, it was developed on the through VBCS, and the chart of account values we are fetching from the value set values from the VIP,
Hmm.
and internally we are sending these values to the OIC integration, and through PL SQL we have few functions developed. Through that we are transforming those six chart of account values to 10 chart of account values, and through email notification we are sending the 10 chart of account values to the client, because as per what client required is they just want to enter the six chart of account values into the VBCS page, and they hit the submit button, and after processing they must be getting the 10 chart of account values into their email.
Okay. Okay. So in this application, what are the VBCS component that you have used?
So in this VBCS application, when we talk about the components, we have utilized the import utility, Excel import utility, the buttons we have utilized.
When I say component like web application, business object like this.
So business objects was not utilized because we were not storing these values.
Okay.
We were doing the conversions on the fly. So we have
Okay.
not utilized the business objects here. So when we talk about the more, we have created the variables, and using those we are storing, and then directly we are sending these values to the integration. So, and directly through PL SQL, we are converting and sending
So
back to the
how
client.
are you calling integration in Visual Builder?
So, we have service connections, right? And with service connection, we have the internal utility to connect through integrations. So, through using that, we have connected to the OIC integrations.
Okay. Which internal connectivity you are talking about in service connection?
So, in that we have like in the service connection we have three different kinds of service connection, right? One with which is provided internal, where we have the Oracle application service connections, and integration service connections, and the custom one we have to create using the endpoints, and one where we have to declare the documents and all, right? So the first one I am talking about, where we have the integration part provided. Through
Okay.
that we have used the service connection.
Okay. Okay. Got it. So have you ever heard the backend in VBCS, what that backend is and how it works?
No, Ankur, I have not heard about that.
Okay. So when you say, right, you have done the integration, you have called the integration via integration feature, right? So that is a integration backend, meaning when I say backend is the collection of servers of your applications like integration. And there you give the the credentials of that server, and then you use that backend to call the API. Now the integration backends are there by default with every VBCS instance, okay, and that you use in the service connection. You use the service catalog feature. There you will see the integration, and you will see the list of REST APIs, okay, that you can check, and then you can call that REST API inside your VBCS application. That is what that backend is, and how do you use it, like via service connection,
Understood.
right? Great.
Right.
Right. So can you let me know what are the options that you have in VBCS to call any REST API, whether you create a service connection via service catalog or defined by endpoint or defined by specification? What are the options to call the REST API in VBCS?
Okay. So, so by service connection, we have an option by defined by specification, right?
Hmm.
So by specification, we can provide the service name or the API type,
No, Ramesh,
and there.
let us consider our service connections are created successfully. Service connection is
Okay.
there. Now you need to call those service connections in the VBCS application, right?
Got it.
What are the ways to call that services?
So we have REST APIs to call that service connection.
No, service connection is created, that is okay. But when you, let's suppose you have a button, okay? On
Got
that
it.
button, you want to call the integration. How do you do this?
Through events and
Okay.
uh, through events, we basically call the integration on
All right.
the click button.
But in that event, what do you associate with the event? Action chain, have you heard?
Yes. So every UI page has one event associated with it. Like we utilize the event in the UI component, and with UI component we have action chain associated with the events.
That
So
is
that can be utilized. We can parallelly or sequentially use the action chain in the event. We
right.
can perform various action using the action change.
In the action chain, there is a action to call the REST API. What is that action name? You are
I
telling
am
me
not
you have called the integration. How do you call that integration in that VB application?
call. I think it's called call REST integration or call integration component is there.
There's a call REST. There's a call REST action in the action chain that you use to
Okay.
call REST APIs, right?
Right.
That is right. So tell me one thing. Have you ever heard about Service Data Provider (SDP)?
Yes, service data provider I have heard about.
So can you call the REST APIs via SDP also?
Uh, we can call. Yes, we can call the APIs through service data provider.
How? Can you explain a little bit?
The process I am not sure because I'm still learning the VBCS app part.
Okay.
But yeah.
So Ramesh, right, in the service data provider, you have one property. When you create a service data provider variable, there's a property called select endpoint. And when you
Okay.
select endpoint, you can choose the endpoint that you want to call. And then you can use that service data provider on the collection component on the VBCS page. When I say collection component, it can be a table, it can be a list view component, or it can be a select single component, and that you can bind that service data provider, and that will call your associated REST APIs.
Understood.
Right? So this is the way to call service REST APIs in VBCS application, right? So next question is with business object. So how do you call that business objects on VBCS application?
So, so for each business objects, There internally we have the REST API created by the VBCS, so we can utilize those REST API to call the business objects.
Okay, Ramesh, give me a minute, please.
Sure.
All right, Ramesh. So, Ramesh, you are saying every business object has a set of APIs, okay? That we can call in the VBCS application, that is okay. Now, let's suppose if you want to create any custom API on your
Mhm.
VBCS business object, can you do that?
We can create custom validator, but I'm not sure whether we can create a custom API on the business object.
Okay. All right. So, have you ever heard about business rules on business object?
Yes, I have heard about the business rules, and uh, if I'm not wrong, we have five types of business rules for each business object. Like we have object validator, field validator, object trigger, trigger, and the custom uh, validator.
Correct. The one more.
Okay, I'm not aware of that.
There's a something called object functions in the business rules. So
Okay.
at object functions, you can write the Groovy script. Right? For example, you would like to calculate or you want to get the number of employees who falls under a particular department. For example, IT. So you can write a
Mhm.
custom object function with Groovy script, and those custom functions would be exposed as a REST API that you can call.
Okay, understood.
Correct. So
Yep.
this is the way to create a custom APIs on the business objects, right?
Right.
Correct, correct. So, have you ever called the processes from VBCS? If yes, how?
No, no, uncle.
Okay. Have you, so you worked with Gen 3 or Gen 2?
Gen 2.
Gen 2. So in Gen 2, there's a something called process. Like we have a service connection, there's a process. And using that process, you can integrate your workflows that you create inside that workflow. Right, and
Okay,
then after you add the process that you want to call, and that process you can call inside that action chain. So that is one of the out of the box feature of VBCS to call the processes.
understood.
Correct.
Yes.
Cool. So now you have worked on Oracle integrations also, right?
Yes, I have worked on Oracle integrations also.
Correct. Can you just tell me something about some projects that you have done on Oracle integration and what you have done?
Yeah, okay. So I have completed three end-to-end implementations on Oracle integration projects where I have developed few integrations, end-to-end related to the FBDI integrations, outbound integrations, third-party integrations. So these integrations I have created in my implementation projects.
Okay, okay. Can you tell me what are the adapters that you have worked upon?
So the adapters which I worked upon is the ERP adapter, SOAP adapter, FTP adapter, REST adapter.
Okay,
These are the adapters basically I utilized in my integrations.
all right, all right. So can you tell me the operations that you can perform on the FTP adapter?
So the operations we can perform, we can list the file, we can download the file, we can move the file, we can delete the file. These are the basic operations which can perform through the FTP adapter.
Okay. So tell me some limits of FTP adapter. When you work with the FTP adapters, you may have faced some service limits. Can you explain that?
Sure. So the service limits, like for downloading, we can download through for one GB of data, and like service limits are basically limitations provided by the Oracle Integration Cloud. So we have some restrictions where when we read or write the files with the size of the data. So let's suppose when we have to download the file through the FTP adapter, we can download till 1 GB of the data. But through reading, right, we have two options. One is read file in segments, one is only read full file, entire file. So entire file we can read 10 GB of data at a single time, and read files in segments, we can read the files in chunks.
Okay. Okay. Like you told me, like you have worked on Gen 2, not on Gen 3, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. But do you have any exposure working on Gen 3 also?
No, no, Ankur.
Okay. Okay. So can we read a file which is more than 10 MB in Gen 2?
While loop more than 10 MB.
Yes.
Reading, like when we have to read the entire file more than 10 MB, we cannot do in the while loop.
No, no, I'm not saying while loop. I'm saying if you need to read a file from FTP, which is more than
Okay.
50 MB and less than 50 MB, can we do that in OIC Gen 2?
No, we cannot.
All right. So you are saying, but how much, what may be the maximum size that we can read?
10 MB of the size we can read, and we can read file in segments through stage read, right? We can read uh, more than 10 MB of data.
All right. So I guess Ramesh, you have to little up to date your knowledge. So that 10 MB limit was very odd, and Oracle has changed that limit in Gen 2 from 10 MB to 50 MB, meaning you can read a file which is
Mhm.
of 50 MB,
Okay,
and that
understood.
limit in Gen 3 is 100 MB.
What is the limit in OIC Gen 3?
It is 100 MB,
Okay, okay, understood.
right?
Right.
Okay, for example, you have a file of more than 100 MB or more than 500 MB up to 1 GB. What is the process to read that file?
So we have in the stage, we have read file in segments. We can utilize read file in segments to read our file in the segments, because entire file we cannot read in a single go. So we can utilize read file in segments
So
operation
tell me
to
the complete,
read that file.
tell me the complete process. So considering you need to create a schedule process, okay,
Okay,
which needs
okay,
to read a file from FTP, which is more than 100 MB, and then you need
okay.
to push that file to
Mhm.
to push the data into the third party application. What will be the steps that you will follow?
Okay, so first of all, I will use the FTP adapter, where I will use the operation list operation, like because the file is in the directory. So there I'll check the file in the list through list operation, whether that file is present or not. So from there I'll download the file. Okay, and the second operation will be the download operation of FTP adapter. And after downloading, I will read the file in segments through stage file operation, and then after staging, I will read that file in segments, and then I will write that file using stage file in using stage operation, and then send it to the third party application.
Okay. So just after the list, like you told, you first list, just after the list, you can use download operation. Is this correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So that list file will give you a single file or multiple files.
It it can give multiple files also. It can give single file also. Depends on the like whatever file naming convention we have provided using the lookup value in the
So for
in
example,
the OIC lookup.
Hmm. So for example, you have a 10 files at a time,
Mhm.
and you
Mhm.
have all the CSV file that you have listed, and you have given a pattern called star.csv. That is correct. So
Yes,
after
correct.
star.csv, it will give you 10 files.
Correct.
So when you will use FTP adapter to read the file, which file name you will give first? How would you know
So
the file name?
s- means the file naming convention star.csv, right? We
That
have.
you have given the pattern as a star.csv, which will give you the 10 files.
Correct.
abc.csv, xyz.csv, employee.csv, employee
Correct.
underscore.csv. When you will use
Correct.
download operation, what will be the file
Mhm.
you will give there? abc.csv or xyz or employee underscore one. Which
Mhm.
file you will give?
All right. So
Because
the
file you have to give a file name and a directory, right?
correct.
Then which file name you are going to give out of the 10 files?
So like if we do not give any file name, then all 10 files will be coming inside the operation into the instances.
Which
If
operation? Which operation?
like if we do not provide any file name specific in the parameters, right? Schedule parameters,
No, no, let's
then
forget about schedule parameter. Just tell me, and so like we have listed the file which gives me a 10 files.
okay.
So and then immediately you are reading the file. And when you read
Okay.
the file, you use the read file operation. You mandatorily you have to give the file name and then directory, right? Or you can do in the mapping also.
Okay.
Which file name you are going to, which file name and directory you are going to use to read that file out of the 10.
So you mean that I need to specify any file name because
Without file
whatever file
name,
because whatever file names we have in the directories all will come if we do not specify any file name in a loop.
so no. So Ramesh, the answer, correct answer is of my question is first you have to list, right? You have to list if you think there would be multiple files. Otherwise, you can directly use read file, right?
Correct.
If you have multiple files, you can use list file. There you can give the pattern, and then you will
Correct.
use the for each. Under for each, you will give the response of list file. All right. And then
Yes.
under loop, you will use the FTP adapter to read the file, and then you will give the file name, the current file name and the current directory to the mapping of read file operation. And then you will proceed further, then read the file in chunks and then do further processing. So that is what the correct answer is,
Okay.
right?
Got it.
Right. So tell me one more thing here. When you say read file in chunk, right? So what is the service limit of that read file in chunk operation?
So we can read 200 segments in one instance of the read file in segment.
Is it fixed 200? And what is that segment? When you say 200 segment, what it is? It is 200 rows, 200 MB, 200 KB, what it is?
I think this is 200 kbs.
All right. So the limit of file in segment is again 10 MB. All right. Meaning
All
200
right.
is the record, meaning you can read the 200 records at a time. This is not
Got
KB,
it.
this is not MB. You can read 200 record, and this size you can change. You will have a editable option. By default, it is 200 in Gen 2, which you can change from 200 to 300, 300 to 400, depending the how much size a 300 records contain.
Okay. Got it.
Understood?
Yeah.
So during that conversation, you told me the schedule parameters. Can you just elaborate what that schedule parameters are and where do you use it? Any scenario?
So so whenever we create an integration using schedule integration, right? There we can provide our schedule parameters with which parameters we want to run our integration. Suppose if we want to call our BI report and our BI report has some parameters to be run, we can provide those parameters in the schedule integration and we can run our integration.
No, but what is the use case? We can create a assign. We can create variables using assign action also. And
Also,
what is the
yeah, correct.
benefit of using schedule parameters specifically?
We can track those schedule parameters also using the business identifier as well.
That you can use other parameters also.
Also,
Start
yeah.
time and schedule.
Mhm.
So basically, the benefits of using schedule parameters are they are persisted across the schedule run. For example, you would like to fetch the incremental data based on
Mhm.
last run date of the integration. Okay, you
Mhm.
have a database from where you would like to fetch the incremental data based on the modified date of the record. So you can maintain one date using the schedule parameters, and you can pass the schedule, you can pass that last run date and time in your database query, and then it will give you the incremental record. And then after that, you can update that schedule parameters in the integration with the start time of that schedule. And then that will be persisted, which you can use for the
Got it.
incremental purpose, right?
Got it.
Yeah. Can you tell me some service limits of schedule integrations?
Service limits of schedule integration means
So like, so we have various service limits in integration, like 100 MB, timeout limits, another. Do we have any service limit? Do you see any service limits?
so for specifically for the schedule integration, I'm not sure of the service limits, but for the adapters, I know service limits.
Mhm. Okay. The first service limit of schedule is like the timeout is 6 hours. I don't know if you have heard that or not. So if one thread is running and it is
Mhm.
not completed within 6 hours, then that thread will be terminated. So meaning the complete time of a scheduled thread is 6 hours.
Got it. I was not aware of this. Thanks.
All right. The second service limit is in terms of how many threads can be spawned at a time. For example, you have a schedule for integration to run every 10 minutes. One thread is running and that thread is not completed in 10 minutes and it is taking more time. So the next thread, which is about to run, will run or not? No. So the second thread will wait till the time first thread completes, meaning only one thread can run at a time on a predefined frequency. But you can run one more thread using run now feature, meaning on an ad hoc basis. Two threads, one as per the frequency, and second ad hoc run.
Got it.
I will recommend like you first go through the service limit document of Oracle
Mhm.
integration 2 because you are dealing with Oracle integration 2 and there's a difference in limits when you use Gen 2 or Gen 3. So there's a specific document that you can search service limit in OIC Gen 2. You will find a link on Google and then you can go through. That will help you actually to know
Got it.
limits, right?
Yeah.
Right. So have you ever used ERP adapter, right?
Yes.
All right. Can we use ERP adapter with connectivity agent?
Uh, I have not used anytime connectivity agent, but I'm not sure about this
But
question.
do we have the connectivity agent option while we create connection, ERP connection?
Mm, don't remember exactly.
So your Oracle ERP is a cloud-based solution or it's a on-premise solution? Oracle ERP cloud, right? It's a cloud-based, right?
Cloud based.
But do we need the connectivity agent for that?
We only need the host name and the username password for this ERP
Not
connection.
connectivity agent at all. So you will not find the connectivity agent option in your connections
Yeah,
page.
got
So
it.
so that is very important, Ramesh. While you are making any connection, you check all the properties which you have to enter. What are the options available? That will actually help to learn all those things.
Okay.
That is very important, right? The service limit, the when you do the configuration, what comes in, what is the purpose, that is very important, and then you will get to know more and more things.
Sure.
All right.
Yep.
Tell me if I want to expose a REST API that can accept attachments and then can send me the response as well as attachment. Can I create such kind of REST API, meaning sending attachment and then giving attachment in response also? Is it possible?
Yes, it is possible.
So what configuration do you do there?
So, like we have application octet PDF type in the request when we configure a REST connection. There we need to provide those details in the request, and in the response also same.
All right. So basically, when you use REST connection as a trigger, then you have to specify accept request payload and then accept response payload, right? Meaning
Right.
request
Right.
response on the request payload request configuration option. There's an option like accept attachment in request, right? That you have to check. Same thing you have to do in the response also. Then you can send attachments and you can receive attachments also.
Attachments. Okay.
Understood? Cool.
Yes.
Cool, Ramesh. I guess I am good, and I hope you have. I guess you have a good knowledge of OIC and then VBCS, and I hope it's a great conversation. If you have any question related to your OIC and then VBCS, you can ask any question that I have asked, and then you are not able to answer, and I am also not able to answer. If you have any question, you can ask now.
Okay. So the questions which we discussed earlier, right? The one from the VBCS. So basically, when I'm importing any, like when we have Excel import utility, when we import any Excel sheet, let's suppose we have 6 columns, and when we import any Excel sheet, so those the data into that 6 columns automatically, when we create a variable, automatically assigned to those 6 columns as variables in the VBCS application, right? We do not need to explicitly provide any connectivity to those columns variables we created in VBCS application. So that is one question I have. Means we do not have to explicitly provide like this variable value should be this column value should go to this variable values. We do not have to explicitly in backend at the backend we need not to provide these values.
So
right?
basically, you have a table which is connected to any data source that you want to export, right? Is this correct?
Correct.
Right. So basically, when you create a table, you have to connect this table with the data source. And I say data source, it can be a business object, and it can be your service connection, right? So there are 2 ways to connect this table via ADP, array data provider, or service data provider, right? For example, you are using array data provider. So you have an array data provider which contains all the data from your business object, for example. So when you will use the export button, you will call one JavaScript where you will pass the array of the data. You can loop, and there you can construct the Excel file. And then there you can use the download as well. And then when you click on export button, it will call your JavaScript where the data will be passed, and then the file will be created, and then file will be downloaded.
Understood. And like basically we have like in VBCS there is a lot of utilization of ADP and SDP, right? So basically we discussed about SDP. Can you brief more about ADP? What is ADP? Where we can utilize ADP?
Right. So SDP versus ADP, what I can do, okay, so service data provider is basically used when you want to trigger your APIs from the UI components, for example, table or list views. As soon as the table or list would be populated, your APIs would be fired. Meaning it's like a UI trigger. But ADP is not a UI trigger. ADP is like first you have to call the REST APIs in the action chain and then load the data into the ADP variable. And then you can use that ADP variable in the list view or in the table. And it will not be I'll say component driven. It's like first you are loading the data and then showing. Meaning you can reutilize that data to show in a other component also.
Understood. Okay.
Okay, guys. Ramesh, I guess we are good now, and we should
Yep.
close. I got it. Like how much knowledge do you have OIC and VBCS? And I hope you have a good knowledge, Ramesh. I guess
Okay.
we can conclude this interview, and I will share the feedback. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.